Simon Anderson's world shattered at 11:47 p.m. He was sitting alone in his private study inside his big mansion in GRA, Port Harcourt. The house was quiet. The only sound was the soft ticking of the wall clock and the low hum of the air conditioner. On his desk, the security laptop screen glowed in the dark. His head of security had just sent him a short message. "Sir, I think there is something you need to see. Check the camera footage from yesterday night." At first, Simon did not worry. He thought it was about a driver breaking a rule or a staff leaving the gate open. Little problems, small things money could fix. But when he clicked on the footage and pressed play, his heart started to beat faster. On the screen, he saw his own gate. Timestamp 9:12 p.m. Agnes's car drove out. That was not strange. What shook him was the next part. The car did not turn towards the supermarket. It did not turn towards church. It did not turn towards the school where she sometimes went for PTA meetings. It turned towards the main road that led straight out of the estate and towards the hotel side of town. Simon leaned closer. His mouth grew dry. He watched Agnes step out of the car in a simple black dress that hugged her body. Her dark skin glowed under the streetlights. Her hair was neatly packed in a bun, like she always did when she wanted to look simple but beautiful. She checked her phone, looked around, then walked quickly through the hotel entrance. The camera changed. Another angle, hotel parking lot. A tall man in a grey shirt and dark jeans walked up to Agnes. He removed his face cap. The man smiled. Agnes smiled back. Then, right there in the parking lot, the man pulled her into a hug that was far too long. Simon's hand began to shake on the mouse. His chest felt tight. He zoomed in. The camera was not very clear, but it was enough. Enough to see the way Agnes rested her head on the man's chest. Enough to see the way the man's hand moved slowly down her back like he knew every part of her already. Enough to see the man's face. It was not a stranger. Simon knew that face. It was Okechukwu, Agnes's ex, the man she had cried about many years ago and promised she had left behind. The love she said she had buried before she married Simon. The footage paused when Simon's hand slipped and hit the keyboard. His own reflection stared back at him from the laptop screen. Dark-skinned, handsome, well-groomed, and now looking like his whole world was falling apart. His phone buzzed on the table, but he did not pick it. Because in that moment, one question swallowed every other thought in his head. Why is my wife secretly meeting her ex after 15 years of marriage? And more than that, what exactly is she doing with him in that hotel? Simon swallowed hard as the clock on the wall clicked to 11:48 p.m., and the life he thought was perfect started to crack. 15 years earlier, things were different. Back then, Simon was not billionaire Simon Anderson, the oil and gas mogul of Port Harcourt. He was just Simon, a young engineer with big dreams and worn-out shoes, living in a small two-bedroom apartment in Roomwola. Agnes met him on a hot afternoon in the banking hall of a crowded branch in town. She was standing in front of him on the queue, fanning herself with a small flyer. Her dark skin shone with sweat, and a small line of frustration sat between her brows as the line refused to move. "Excuse me," Simon had said with a small smile, "if this line goes any slower, we may sleep here tonight." Agnes turned, and for a second her eyes met his. Deep brown, tired but gentle. She laughed softly. "At least," she replied, "sleeping here is free. Rent is not." That was how it started. Simple, human. Two people, both struggling, both hopeful. At that time, Agnes was a primary school teacher. She lived with her aunt. She cooked on a small gas cooker. She helped her aunt sell fabric on weekends in Mile 1 Market. There was nothing fancy about her life, but her heart was big. She listened. She supported. When Simon lost a project and almost gave up on his company dream, Agnes brought food to his place and sat with him on the floor beside his old mattress. "Simon," she had said, touching his hand, "you are not a failure. You only had a bad week. Your dream is still your dream, and I will be here. I am not going anywhere." He believed her. They got married 2 years later, in a simple but beautiful ceremony. No gold chairs, no famous musicians, just friends, family, and a small church at Diobu with a plastic flower on the altar. Simon promised to love her. Agnes promised to stand by him, and she did, for a long time, through the early years when they could not afford a generator and had to sleep in the heat of Port Harcourt nights. Through the times they shared one plate of food and laughed about it. Through the days he stayed out late, chasing clients, sending cold emails, begging big companies to give him one contract. She stayed, she prayed, she believed in him. Then, in what felt like a miracle, Simon's fortunes changed. His small oil servicing company got a big contract with an international firm. One deal turned into two into five. Before long, Simon moved his office to a glass building with his name on it. They left the small apartment and moved into a mansion in GRA. Staff quarters, swimming pool, security at the gate, cars in the compound, foreign trips, business class flights, expensive suits. Simon became the man people called Ogre, the man people respected, the billionaire. And through it all, Agnes walked beside him. At least that was what Simon thought. With wealth came change. At first, the changes were small. New clothes for Agnes, spa appointments, outings with other society women, new friends, new phones, new habits. Then the distance began. Agnes stopped asking about his work like before. She started saying, "You're always busy. I don't even know you again." Simon, on the other hand, felt tired all the time. The more his business grew, the more meetings filled his days. He told himself he was doing everything for his family, for Agnes, for the future of the children they hoped to have. But in trying to build that future, he did not see what he was losing in the present. Agnes started keeping her phone close to her chest. She changed her passwords. She began to leave the house dressed simply, but with a glow that Simon could not name. If he asked where she was going, she would say, "Just out with the girls. You know you're too busy to go anywhere with me." Her words stung, but he swallowed them with a tired smile. One night, as they lay on the big bed in their darkened room, Agnes turned away from him and stared at the wall. "Simon," she said quietly, "do you remember how we used to talk?" He rolled closer. "We still talk, Agnes." "Not like before," she whispered. "Now it's only about numbers, contracts, and meetings. I miss when you used to see me." He placed his hand on her shoulder. "I see you. You are my wife." But even as he said it, he knew it was not enough. He loved her, but he had not really seen her in a long time. Not the way she needed. The next morning, Agnes woke up early, wearing a soft smile Simon had not seen in weeks. She hummed as she dressed. Her dress was simple, but it fit her body in a way that made his chest ache with a strange feeling he could not name. "Where are you going?" he asked, tying his tie. "Just meeting an old friend for lunch," she said. "Nothing serious." "What friend?" She hesitated for a moment. "Just someone from my past." "Don't worry, it's nothing." Simon wanted to ask more, but his driver had already arrived. His phone was buzzing. His PA was waiting. The day was packed. He left the house with a small knot in his chest. That knot grew bigger with every new sign. Late calls, hidden smiles, soft humming after she checked her phone, until the day his security head sent that message. Now, in the stillness of his study, Simon replayed the footage again. Agnes stepping out of the car. Agnes meeting Okechukwu. Agnes hugging him like she had waited years for that moment. His mind raced back to a day, many years ago, when Agnes had sat on their bed, tears running down her cheeks. "His name is Okechukwu," she had said back then. "We were together in university. I thought we would marry, but he left me for someone richer. It broke me. I never want to go back there again." Simon had wiped her tears and promised, "You will never have to." But now, here they were. He grabbed his car keys with shaky hands. He could not sit and watch another second. He needed to know the truth. With his heart pounding, he rushed out of the study, down the stairs, and out into the cool Port Harcourt night. The driver ran towards him. "Ogre, should I?" "No, I'll drive myself." The gate opened. The mansion grew smaller behind him as he sped into the night, following the same road he had seen on the footage. Towards the hotel. Towards the truth. 15 minutes later, he parked in the shadows near the hotel entrance. He turned off the engine and sat still, his hands gripping the steering wheel so tight his knuckles turned white. He checked the time. 10:09 p.m. He stepped out of the car and walked into the hotel, his heart thudding so loudly he could feel it in his throat. The receptionist recognized him at once and looked nervous. Billionaires did not come here often, and certainly not alone. "Good evening, sir," she said quietly. Simon leaned in, his voice low but firm. "A woman checked in here about an hour ago. Dark-skinned, mid-30s, black dress. She met a man in a grey shirt. Tell me their room number." The receptionist swallowed, eyes wide. She hesitated for a second, then looked at the name on the register and slowly slid a small card towards him. Simon glanced at it. Room 407. He walked to the elevator. The ride to the 4th floor felt like a lifetime. When the doors opened, the corridor was quiet and cold. Each step he took towards room 407 sounded like thunder in his ears. When he reached the door, he stopped. From inside, he heard Agnes's voice, soft, familiar, filled with a warmth he had not heard in months. Then he heard a man's voice, deep, smooth, Okechukwu. And then, clear as day, through the thin hotel door, he heard Agnes whisper words that slammed into his chest like a knife. "Okechukwu. I don't know how to stop loving you. Even after 15 years, my heart always comes back to you." Simon's hand froze on the door handle. His entire world, his marriage, his 15 years of sacrifice and trust hung in the silence that followed, as he decided whether to open that door or walk away. For 10 long seconds I stood there, my hand gripping the cold door handle of room 407, unable to breathe. Agnes's words still echoed inside my skull, sharp and heavy like stones rolling down a hill. "I don't know how to stop loving you, even after 15 years. 15 years. 15 years of marriage. 15 years of sacrifices. 15 years of believing she was mine." My vision blurred. The hallway lights flickered above me, casting weak shadows on the carpet. My heart beat so loudly I could hear the blood rushing through my ears. I pushed the handle. It didn't open. Locked. Good, because I wasn't sure what would happen if that door had opened so easily. I took one step back, leaned against the wall, and covered my face with both hands. The corridor smelled like clean soap and air freshener, but all I could smell was betrayal. I wanted to kick the door open. I wanted to scream. I wanted to drag Agnes out and beg her to tell me it wasn't true. But I didn't. Instead, I stayed still, long enough to hear the next thing she said. Her voice came again, soft, shaky, full of pain I didn't recognize. "Okechukwu. Simon doesn't see me anymore. I am lonely in that big house." My stomach tightened. My own wife. Talking about our home like it was a prison. Talking about me like I was a stranger. Then Okechukwu's voice entered the silence, deep and smooth, the way men talk when they already know they have power. "Agnes, I have always loved you. I made a mistake leaving you back then, but I'm here now." He paused. I felt anger crawl into my chest. "You deserve to be chosen." Chosen. Like I never chose her, like I never built a whole empire with her at my side, like I didn't carry her dreams with mine. I felt my throat tighten, my eyes burned. But crying was something my body refused. Billionaires don't cry in hotel hallways. So I turned, and I walked away. Not because I was weak, not because I didn't want answers, but because if I stayed at that door one more second, I would do something the world would never forgive. As I reached the elevator, the doors opened and a couple stepped out, laughing softly. A man in a suit. A woman in a red dress holding his arm. They looked happy. The kind of happiness I thought I had with Agnes. When I entered the elevator, my reflection in the mirror caught my attention. I barely recognized myself. My eyes looked darker, my face looked older. My shirt was wrinkled from grabbing the steering wheel too hard on the drive here. I looked like a man fighting a battle he never planned for. The elevator doors closed slowly, and right before they sealed shut, I heard footsteps from the corridor, quick, familiar footsteps. Agnes. For a moment my heart moved. Did she know I was there? Did she hear me walk away? But the elevator closed, trapping me inside. As I rode down, memories filled my head. Her laughter, her cooking. The long nights we spent talking in the early days, the way she used to run into my arms after work. Where did all that go? When did we lose it? When I stepped out into the lobby, the receptionist avoided my eyes. She knew what she had done. But I did not blame her. She was only doing her job. What hurt more was the part I couldn't accept. Agnes did not come here by mistake. She came by choice. She came with feelings. She came with history. My driver's voice echoed in my mind. An earlier warning I ignored. Oga, Madam Day go out plenty these days. Are you sure? Say, stop it, I had said at that time. My wife is not that type. But she was. Or maybe she had become that type because I was not the man she needed anymore. As I stepped outside, the cool Port Harcourt night hit my skin. Cars drove past, taxis honked. Bright lights from nearby restaurants danced across the street. The world was busy. People were eating, laughing, living. But my world was falling apart quietly. I walked toward my car like a man moving through water. My legs felt heavy. My chest felt even heavier. Before I could open the car door, my phone buzzed. One message, from Agnes. My hands trembled as I unlocked it. Honey, I'm at church for night prayers. I'll be home soon. Love you. My breath froze. Church, night prayers, love me. She was lying while standing inside another man's arms. I stared at the message for a long time, then my thumb hovered over the keyboard, but I didn't reply. Not a single word. I opened the car door, sat inside, and rested my forehead on the steering wheel. What hurt the most was not the lie. It was the fact that the woman who once promised to never hurt me had learned how to lie so smoothly. As I switched on the engine, my phone buzzed again. Another message. From my head of security. Sir, we found something else. Something more serious. Call me immediately. My chest tightened. More serious? More than the hotel. I didn't call. I drove straight home. The gate opened slowly, and the mansion lights shone bright like nothing inside had changed. But I had changed. And I knew deep down, tonight was only the beginning of a truth far darker than what I had seen in the hotel. I stepped out of the car, and that was when I saw it. A small object lying on the floor, right beside the front door. A man's wristwatch. Not mine, not my driver's. A man's watch. In my house, in front of my door. My heart slammed against my ribs. Someone had been here. Someone had entered my home. Someone might still be inside. I picked up the watch slowly, my hand shaking, and when I turned it over, I froze. Because engraved at the back, in bold silver letters, was the name Okechukwu. I stood at the front door of my mansion, staring at the wristwatch in my hand, Okechukwu's wristwatch, glinting under the porch light like a cruel joke from fate. My home, my safe place, the house Agnes and I spent years building together. And now this stranger's watch was lying here like a signature left behind after breaking into my life. My heart hammered inside my chest, my breathing grew shallow. Every sound around me felt louder, the crickets, the hum of the generator in the distance, the soft rustle of leaves in the night breeze. Someone had been here, someone had stood exactly where I was standing, someone Agnes once loved. I gripped the watch tighter, my knuckles turning white. I pushed open the door. The living room was silent, neat. Almost too neat. The giant brown sofa was in place. The glass center table sparkled. The chandelier above cast soft gold light across the marble floor. Nothing looked broken, nothing looked stolen. But that made everything even scarier. Because this wasn't the kind of break-in where someone wanted money. This was personal. Very personal. I walked slowly into the living room, my shoes making soft sounds against the floor. The air smelled like vanilla, Agnes's favorite candle scent. I turned toward the staircase. The hallway light was on. Someone had been upstairs, or someone was still there. I swallowed hard, slipped my phone into my pocket, and grabbed the only thing nearest to me, a heavy glass vase from the side table. If I had to defend myself tonight, I would. I climbed the stairs slowly, each step tightening the fear inside my stomach. When I reached the top, the corridor stretched ahead, dim and quiet. But one door was open, our bedroom. Light was spilling from the inside. I stepped closer until I could see through the gap. And then I froze. Our bed was untouched, but the wardrobe door, Agnes's side, was wide open. Clothes were scattered, shoes thrown around, her drawer open, her small box of jewelry on the floor. It looked like someone had been searching for something important, something valuable. I walked in, the vase still in my hand. My eyes scanned every corner. Then I saw it, right beside the foot of the bed, a torn photograph. I bent down and picked it up. It was a picture of Agnes and me on our 5th anniversary. She wore a bright blue gown. I wore a white senator outfit. We had danced in a small restaurant beside the river at night, but this photo had been torn across the middle, her face on one side, my face on the other. The pieces had been thrown separately. My blood ran cold. This was not an accident. This was anger. This was hate. This was someone trying to send a message. Before I could process anything, my phone vibrated inside my pocket. I quickly checked it. A third message, again from my head of security, Mr. Jackson. "Sir, please, it is urgent. The footage from earlier. There is another person involved." Another person? Who else? I was about to call him when I heard footsteps downstairs, soft, slow, moving toward the kitchen. My heart jumped. I quietly dropped the vase and reached for the small silver baseball bat I kept in the bedroom corner, the one I bought years ago for fitness training but never used. I held it tight and began walking down the stairs, step by step, quiet, focused. When I reached the bottom, the footsteps stopped. The kitchen lights were off, the living room lights were dim, everything was too silent. I pushed the kitchen door open with the bat raised. But the kitchen was empty. The only thing out of place was the back door, slightly open. A cold breeze pushed into the room. The curtain beside the door fluttered softly. Whoever had been inside the house was gone, or had just left moments ago. I rushed to the door and stepped outside. The backyard was dark except for the moonlight hitting the lawn. The security dogs barked in the distance, restless. Someone had definitely been here. But who? And why leave his watch behind? Why search Agnes's wardrobe? Why tear our picture? None of it made sense. As I stood outside trying to understand the madness, another sound caught my attention. The front gate creaked open, a car door shut. Then slow footsteps approached the front porch. My grip tightened on the bat as I rushed back inside the living room. A shadow moved past the window, the front door opened, and there she was. Agnes, still wearing the black dress from the footage, still smelling like expensive perfume, still having her phone held tightly in one hand. But her expression was wrong. She wasn't smiling, she wasn't calm, she looked terrified. Her eyes widened as she stepped into the house and saw me standing there in the dim light, my shoulders tense, the bat in my hand. "Simon," she whispered, her voice trembling, "why are you awake?" I didn't answer. I just stared at her, at the woman I married, the woman I loved. The woman who now had secrets so big they were standing between us like a mountain. She stepped further inside, her hands shaking as she dropped her bag on the sofa. Then she said something that sent a cold shiver down my spine. "Simon, something terrible has happened." "What?" I asked, my voice low. She swallowed hard. Tears filled her eyes. "Someone has been following me." I blinked. "What are you talking about?" Her lips trembled. "I think someone wants to hurt me. Or hurt us." She wasn't lying. I could tell. Her fear was real. Her shaking was real. But my mind was already drowning in questions. "Agnes," I said slowly, "where did you go tonight?" She froze, completely frozen. Her lips parted, but no words came out. And then, a small beep sounded from her phone, a message. Agnes looked at it. Suddenly her face turned white, like she had seen a ghost. Her hands dropped to her sides, her phone slipped and hit the floor. The screen lit up with the message. I stepped forward. I leaned down, and I read it. One short sentence, 6 words, enough to break any man's mind. "Does your husband know our secret?" The message on Agnes's phone glowed like fire in the dim living room. "Does your husband know our secret?" My entire body went cold. Not just cold, frozen. Like every drop of blood inside me stopped moving at the same time. Agnes couldn't speak. Her lips trembled. Her chest rose and fell too fast. She bent slowly, picked up the phone with shaking hands, and pressed it tightly against her body like she was trying to hide it from the world. Or from me. I took one step toward her. She stepped back. "Agnes," I said quietly, "there is no place left to hide." Her eyes filled with tears, not the soft tears people cry when they are sad. These were the tears of someone whose world is crashing in slow motion. "Simon, please," she whispered, "let me explain." "Explain what?" My voice cracked. "Explain why you were at a hotel with your ex? Explain why he left his watch inside my house? Explain who was in our bedroom, tearing our pictures apart? Explain this." I pointed at the message on her phone. My hand was shaking. I couldn't control it. Agnes covered her face with her palms. "I didn't want this," she said, her voice breaking. "I tried to stop it. I tried." "Tried to stop what?" she sobbed. Deep, painful sobs that made her shoulders shake. Finally, she looked up at me, her eyes glassy with fear. "Simon, there is something you don't know." "Then tell me." She inhaled sharply. "Not here," she whispered. "We're not safe." "Safe from who?" She looked around like shadows were hiding in every corner. "From him." "Okechukwu?" She closed her eyes tight like hearing his name burned her chest. "Not just him," she said. "Simon, someone else is involved. Someone dangerous." Before I could ask anything else, my phone rang loudly. I jumped. Agnes jumped. The caller ID flashed. "Mr. Jackson, head of security," I answered immediately. "Jackson, what did you find?" His voice was trembling. That frightened me more than Agnes's tears. Jackson was a retired military man. He never showed fear. "Sir," he said, breathing hard, "you need to leave that house. Now." "Why?" "Because the cameras did not only show Madam leaving the house. Someone else entered later." "I know, I saw the signs." "No, sir," Jackson said, "not one person." My heart tightened. "What do you mean?" His voice shook harder. "Two men entered your compound tonight." My throat dried. "Two. One was Okechukwu," Jackson continued. "The other—" He hesitated. "The other is someone we have been tracking quietly for months. He is a known fixer for powerful criminals. He works with people who destroy families for money." Agnes gasped. Her hand flew to her mouth. I felt my legs weaken. "Why were they in my house?" Jackson's answer cut through me like a blade. "They were looking for something your wife is trying to hide." I turned slowly toward Agnes. She stepped back again, her back hitting the wall. "Agnes," I said, my voice barely a whisper, "what have you done?" She shook her head violently. "It's not what you think, Simon. I swear to you, it's not betrayal. It's not what you saw in that hotel." My jaw tightened. "You told him you still loved him." She cried harder. "That wasn't what it looked like." "Simon, please, I didn't go there for romance." "Then why?" "To protect you," she cried, "to protect us." My head spun. None of this made sense. "Agnes, you have to start talking now." She wiped her tears with the back of her hand and forced herself to breathe. Then she said something that made the entire room feel smaller. "Simon, this all started 15 years ago, before we even got married." I frowned. 15 years ago. She nodded. "When Okechukwu left me for that rich woman, it wasn't because he wanted to." I stared at her, confused. "What does that mean?" She swallowed hard. "He owed money to very bad people. People who threatened to ruin his life if he didn't obey them. So he left me. But they didn't stop there. They made him do something else, something that involved me." My breaths grew sharp. "Agnes, what did they make him do?" She wrapped her arms around herself like she was cold. "They used him to blackmail me." "What?" "Before we got married," she whispered, "they forced him to take something from me. Something personal, something private. And they told him that if I ever became successful or married someone rich, they could use it to destroy me." I felt a tightness in my chest. "Destroy you? How?" She looked at me with eyes filled with shame. "They took a video of me." My stomach dropped. "A video?" "Yes. A private, painful video." The room slowed. My heartbeat thudded in my ears. Agnes. Tears streamed down her face again. Simon, they said if I ever got married to someone important, they would release it, ruin my life, humiliate me. I felt anger, hot, sharp anger, sliced through my spine. How long have you been hiding this? Since before our wedding, she whispered. I thought they forgot about me. For 15 years, nothing happened. Then suddenly, they came back. I closed my eyes. Everything started connecting. Her secretive behavior, her fear, the man in the house, the torn photo, Okachukwu's involvement. Why now? I asked. Agnes stepped toward me slowly. Because you became too powerful, too rich, too visible. Because now, humiliating me means humiliating you. I stood still, silent. Her words cut deeper than betrayal ever could. And the worst part, she said, her voice breaking again. They don't want money anymore, Simon. Then what do they want? They want revenge. A cold breeze swept through the room, even though the windows were closed. Agnes lifted her phone slowly, her hand still trembling. Simon, look. Another message had arrived. This one was even worse. I took the phone from her hand. The sender's name was hidden, but the message was clear. One picture, one threat. The picture showed our home, my mansion. From the outside, taken just minutes ago, and under it were 9 deadly words. We know he's home. Tonight, everything changes forever. The message on Agnes's phone felt like a punch to my chest. We know he's home. Tonight, everything changes forever. I stared at the screen for so long my eyes began to burn. Someone was watching us. Someone was close. Too close. Agnes stepped toward me, her breathing fast, her hands shaking harder than before. Simon, we need to leave, right now. I didn't speak. I couldn't. My mind was spinning with fear, anger, and confusion all at once. Danger was no longer outside. Danger was already here. I grabbed Agnes's hand. Upstairs. Now. We hurried up the stairs, our footsteps quick and uneven. Every shadow looked like a threat. Every sound felt like a warning. When we entered the bedroom, I locked the door and dragged the dresser in front of it. Agnes stood near the window, hugging her arms tightly. Her shoulders shook with silent fear. Simon, I don't want them to hurt you. I'm not the one they want, I said softly. They're after you. She closed her eyes, a tear slid down her cheek. Because of a mistake I made before we even met, she whispered. Because of something I never had the courage to tell you. I turned to her, my voice softened, but my chest still felt heavy. Agnes, I'm here. But I need the full truth. Tonight. She nodded slowly. Then she began. Her story, the darkness. She hid for 15 years. After Okachukwu left me in university, she said, I was broken. Completely. I didn't understand why he would walk away. I trusted him. I loved him. She wiped her eyes, trembling. One night I went to his apartment. I wanted answers. I wanted closure. But the people he owed money to were already there. I listened, my heart sinking. They locked the door. They took my phone. They said Okachukwu had failed to pay a debt, and because they knew how much he cared about me, they would use me to punish him. She paused, breathing shakily. Simon, they filmed me. They forced me to read something on camera, a confession, a fake confession, saying I stole money from them. My fists tightened. How could you hide this from me? Because I was ashamed. Her voice cracked. Because I didn't want to bring that darkness into your new life. Because you were rising, and I didn't want to drag you down. All the air in the room felt heavy, painful. And then? I asked quietly. I thought it was over, she whispered. For 15 years, no one contacted me. She looked up at me with eyes filled with fear. Until 3 months ago. My heart skipped. 3 months? She nodded. That was when the threats started again. They sent me messages, old screenshots, pictures I never wanted to see again. Her voice cracked. They said they would release everything unless I met them. Unless I agreed to something. What? Agnes hesitated, then whispered, They want something that belongs to you. My jaw tightened. What belongs to me? Your company, she said slowly, your shares, your name, your access. A cold chill crawled down my spine. They want to use me to get to you, and to force me. Her voice broke. They brought back Okechukwu. I stared at her. Why? Because he still has a hold on me emotionally. They're using him to make me afraid, to make me obey. They made him pretend he wanted me back, so I would not run. My chest tightened. So the hotel was a trap, she whispered, a setup. My mind replayed everything I heard at the hotel door, the hug, the whisper, the confession. Agnes, you told him you still loved him. She cried harder. That was what they told me to say. They said the room was recorded. If I didn't say those words, they would release the old video everywhere. In the news, online, in your business circles. Simon, I was trying to protect you. My heart cracked, just a little, just enough. Before I could speak, a loud bang hit the front door downstairs. Agnes screamed and covered her ears. My blood ran cold. Another bang, this time louder. Then a voice echoed from below, deep, cold, too familiar. Agnes, open the door. We know you're inside. Okechukwu, his footsteps were slow, heavy, deliberate. He was not alone. I could hear multiple voices, multiple footsteps, more than two. Agnes grabbed my shirt. Simon, please don't open the door. These men do not play. They don't fear police. They don't fear law. I pushed her gently behind me. Stay behind me, I whispered. But my heart was beating so fast I could feel it in my throat. Downstairs, something crashed. Glass shattered. Furniture toppled. They were inside, in my living room, walking through my house like they owned it. Agnes clung to my arm, crying silently. Simon, they came early. They weren't supposed to come tonight. They won't touch you, I said softly, though my voice shook. But I didn't believe my own words. A new voice joined Okechukwu's, deeper, older, filled with power. Agnes, we didn't come for you. We came for your husband. Tell him to come out and talk. Agnes's knees buckled. She grabbed the wall. No, Simon, don't answer. Please don't answer. Then the man said something that froze my blood. We know what he's hiding too. I swallowed hard. What? I'm hiding? Agnes looked at me slowly. Her face paled. Simon, what is he talking about? But I could not speak. I could not breathe. Because I knew exactly what he meant. The one secret I had never told Agnes. The one mistake from my past that I buried so deep I thought no one would ever find it. Downstairs, the men reached the staircase. Their footsteps grew louder, closer, closer. Agnes grabbed my hand, her voice cracking. Simon, what did you hide from me? Before I could answer, the bedroom door shook with a violent kick. Bang! Dust fell from the frame. Agnes screamed. Bang! The dresser moved slightly. Bang! Then the deep voice from outside the door spoke again, calm, threatening, final. Simon Anderson, you're not the only one with secrets. Open this door, or we will open it for you. My heart stopped. Agnes covered her mouth, another kick. The wood cracked. And then, through the broken part of the door, a dark, cold eye appeared, watching us. This is the night everything changes. If you like this story, comment, share, and subscribe to our channel for more interesting stories.